Hello, everybody. Hello, how everybody doing this afternoon? How's everybody doing? It is 7 o'clock. We would like to welcome you to our episode 6. I am your host, Tiger T, and we're going to kick this thing off on this afternoon, this evening rather. On today's episode, we're going to talk about purchasing a vehicle. Purchasing a vehicle. It is a very important topic, ladies and gentlemen. So I want you to tune in. If you have a question about purchasing a vehicle, I am a former sales executive. I worked with several different dealerships throughout this area. And in Alabama, I worked at a dealership as well. So we're going to talk about how to purchase a vehicle or purchasing a vehicle. Okay. Again, I am your host, Tiger T, and we're glad that you're joining us tonight. And we're going to talk about the purchasing of a vehicle. Okay, so let me get situated here. And we're going to go ahead and get the ball rolling, okay? We're going to go ahead and get the ball rolling. Again, we're going to talk about the purchasing of a vehicle, how to purchase a vehicle. One of the things that is very important when we're talking about purchasing a vehicle, it's like anything else. If you're trying to purchase a home, we have to first understand our budget. What does your budget look like? Okay. What does your budget look like? All right. Can you afford it? Do you have the affordability? I know you want that brand new Mustang, that brand new Mercedes, that brand new Audi, that brand new Lexus, that brand new, any kind of car you can name, basically. You want that vehicle because that vehicle is shiny, it's bright, and it looks good. But it also comes with a price. So I want to talk to you tonight about purchasing a vehicle and the best ways to go about purchasing a vehicle. Just to give you a little background of myself, again, I worked at several different dealerships over the course of my career, and I've dealt with many clients that have come into the dealership and have purchased different vehicles. So I work with different lending institutions, different banks, different credit unions, whatever you name it. I've done it pretty much in the car industry. So when I speak, I'm speaking from experience that I've obtained over the years and dealing with customers and clients alike. So again, one of the first things you need to do when thinking about purchasing a vehicle is understanding your budget. Can you really afford that vehicle? Can you really afford that vehicle? Yes, it's beautiful. It's nice, but can you afford it? Is it in your budget? In other words, when you look at your take-home pay, or if you're getting a monthly salary, make sure that vehicle cost is not exceed 10% of your income. 10%. Okay. So if you're, for example, if you're getting say $5,000 a month, that's your monthly income, you don't need a car note over $500, right? So again, understand your budget. Understand your budget, right? Determine your budget, right? What can you afford? Now, another thing we want to talk about is outside of the your budget, your down payment, right? Your down payment. Now, we're going to elaborate a little bit more on the down payment. But again, down payment, how much money do you have as a down payment, right? And there's a caveat to that. We're going to go through that a little bit later. Now, when we think about down payment, right? What is the monthly payment? Again, can you afford it? Right? Now, when you're purchasing a vehicle, for example, if you put your down payment down, you have your monthly note, like say $500, $600, $700. Nowadays, cars are expensive, especially if you're purchasing a new vehicle. They're expensive. So, for example, you have your down payment, your car note, you have your insurance. How much is your insurance going to be on that vehicle, right? Now, there is a myth that's saying that, hey, if you purchase a bright colored vehicle, or for example, a red colored vehicle, right, that your insurance premium would be high. But actually, that is a myth, right? That is a myth. When the insurance company do their underwriting, they doesn't consider the color of your vehicle, right? Now, keep this in mind. If you have an exotic vehicle, right, with an expensive paint job on it that you purchase, on a used vehicle, now that could drive your insurance rate up, because it would take, if something happened to that vehicle, right, they'll look at the probability that it would cost more money if it was a custom paint job done to that vehicle. That's on the used side, car sales side of the house, okay? But right now we're talking about, once we put the down payment down, once we make the monthly payment, can we afford to make that monthly payment rather, right? Now, you're not just looking at that, you're looking at the maintenance of the vehicle, right? Can you afford to have the maintenance done to that vehicle? When I say maintenance, I mean oil changes. You have to have tires done, right? And rotated. Your vehicle is going to eventually need brakes, right? And so all of these things add up when we're talking about your vehicle, right? The battery will one day, go down on it, And so you have to think about all these things when purchasing a vehicle. It's not just the vehicle itself, but it's just like a vehicle have babies. If you're married, got a family, or just have kids in general, right? 3 or 4 kids or whatever. Each one of those kids need different things, right? In other words, you have to support all 3 of those kids, or 4 or 5, how many you may have, right? And so the best thing I can tell you when you're purchasing a vehicle, right? Number one, we're talking about determining your budget, right? But I want to implement inside determining your budget, when you're thinking about purchasing a vehicle, never overextend yourself, right? Never overextend yourself. Don't spend money that you don't have trying to impress people that you don't know. A lot of times, the world, we get caught up into that because the Jones have a Mercedes. Guess what? We want a Mercedes too, right? But don't do that. Don't try to impress people. You know your situation. Access your situation, right? There's nothing wrong. There isn't anything wrong with purchasing a used vehicle, a good used vehicle. You don't have to buy a new vehicle all the time. There are good used vehicles out there, 50 and 60,000 miles, just as good as a new vehicle. So that's a word of thought that you need to consider, right? So again, just think about that. Don't go out there trying to purchase something that's brand new all the time, right? Because a good used vehicle is also good. Now keep in mind, right? Unless you're paying cash for a vehicle, right? You're going to need some type of financing, right? So and we're going to talk about that. So the best thing to do when you want to purchase a vehicle first is look at what vehicle you're trying to purchase. Do your research, do your homework, right? Once you find that vehicle that you want to purchase, my advice from experience, go to a credit union. If you haven't joined a credit union, I highly advise you to join a credit union. Go to that credit union, right, and fill out that buyer's guide, right? Actually, you can get a buyer's guide from the dealership. Take it to the credit union, right, and they can access it, right? For example, if you're trying to purchase a vehicle, $50,000, new that is, and you can present that to your credit union of what you're trying to purchase. And so the credit union, if you get approved, right, their interest rates are most of the time lower than what a bank will charge you. So in essence, you will save a lot more money if you have your vehicle purchased through the credit union. Normally they're like 6%, predicated upon your credit score, right? So your credit score does play a role in your financing, right? Your credit score plays a significant role, a very important role in financing that vehicle, right? So again, do your research on your vehicle, right? And I think those are the things that you need to consider when purchasing a vehicle. Just remember, you're not just purchasing that vehicle. You're purchasing the maintenance that goes with it, right? You're purchasing the fuel, right? The vehicle can't run on air. It can't run on water, right? Even the electric vehicles have to get charged. It costs, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is when you're thinking about purchasing a vehicle, there are also different add-ons that you need to think about, right? It's just not the car itself or the truck itself or the van or SUV, right? I want to tell you a particular story. I purchased a Mercedes years ago when I was living in California. And so I was excited because I always dreamed about owning a Mercedes Benz. And, I always wanted one. I wrote it down on a piece of paper. I said, one day I'm going to purchase me a Mercedes, right? It took a little while, but I finally purchased one. However, I didn't do my homework, right? I was young and I was just thrilled. I was thrilled just to have Mercedes, right? So I was shopping from impulse. Again, I want to say to you, if you're going to the dealership, relax, take your time. I've earned a lot of my sales from customers that shopped off impulse, right? I made a lot of money from customers that was shopping off impulse, and I knew the art of sale, right? So, however, I would educate them. I would sit them down and talk to them, right? I could have made a lot more money than I did in selling vehicles, but it was in my heart to educate the person. Don't just shop off an impulse, right? Some sales guys, sales ladies, they would capitalize on that. They see a person out there, they'll bring them into the office and they'll go ahead and make that money real quick, quick $800,000, $1,000 in 20, 30 minutes, right? So, but I wasn't all about that. I was about helping the person, helping them learn and educate themselves on the fundamentals of purchasing a vehicle, and I met a lot of good people along the way that I took a lot of time out with to educate them, right? So again, number one, determine your budget, right? Number two, unless you're paying cash for a vehicle, you have to have it financed, right? You have to have it financed. Now, this is what I really want to talk about tonight. When you go to that dealership, right, and you see that vehicle that you like, you go out there and look at it, and you come back into the dealership, you will see a guy like me, right? This handsome guy. And you would talk to me, and you want to take this vehicle on a test drive, right? I'm just joking about that being handsome. But you would take this vehicle out on a test drive, and I would get in the vehicle and go with you, come back. And on the way, I asked you, how did you like it? How do you like all the bells and whistles, right? And I explained to you all the options of the vehicle, all the features of the vehicle. I'll go over that with you, and how to set it up with your phone, do the Bluetooth and stuff like that. But when you come back and start doing the paperwork and stuff like that, I would educate you on purchasing that vehicle. And I would go to the sales desk and say, listen, I'm finished with the application of this young man, this young lady, and they are very interested in purchasing this vehicle. And so the sales manager come to me and said, Mr. Thames, how much money do this person have? Me, I'm always saying what the person told me. Normally they'll come in with $1,000, $2,000. And so the sales manager said, well, we need 3, right? Because he's trying to buy his wife that Louis Vuitton Gucci purse, right? He's trying to do that. So, and they'll be like, I go back to the sales, my client. I said, well, we need $3,000 down, right? And they'll be like, I can't have it. So in that instance, right, I would take it upon myself to work the deal. But I want to say this right here. By federal law, you do not need money, a down payment, to purchase a vehicle. By federal law, I want you to hear me good. You do not need money, a down payment rather, to put on a vehicle, to purchase that vehicle. You don't need a down payment. There is no law that stipulates that you need a down payment to put on a vehicle. If you find it, let me know, and I'll eat that page. But listen, so most of the people that put down payment on the vehicle, now don't get me wrong, is good because it takes money from your MSRP, your manufacturer suggested retail price. It does do that, right? But if you don't have that, and if you have good credit and they're still wanting you to put money down on a vehicle, that's a no-go. You don't have to do it. And you can state to them by federal law that Tiger T said you don't need money to put down on your vehicle, right? So I want you to know that, because that is very, very important for you to know that, right? You do not need a down payment. So again, you have to do that research that I was telling you about, right? Research is everything, right? So we have to understand that. So let me go to the chat. Somebody put you're handsome, Tiger T. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Someone put, LBDJ, that's so true. Do your research before you purchase a vehicle and truly understand everything about that vehicle. Dealing with luxury vehicles is very expensive. Yeah, so when I purchased a vehicle, about a year later, the air pneumatic pump went out on my Mercedes. And so I had to pay like $700 for a little pump. And then I had to pay the Mexican guy to put it on. So I think I maybe spent like $800 total, but for a little bitty part, like about that big, right? So what I'm saying to you, when you purchasing a vehicle like Mercedes, BMW, Cadillacs, Audi, vehicles like that, be mindful that those vehicles, they're really good vehicles, don't get me wrong, but the maintenance on them over time, you're going to pay for that vehicle twice. And so I've been fortunate with my older vehicle. I haven't spent a lot of money on it. I've had my A and B services, but on the Mercedes, but the BMW that we had that got in an accident, the gear shift went out on it. And so there was like $4,800, if I'm not mistaken. And so I paid that. And 2 weeks later, it was an accident. So I gave away $4,800. And that's the truth. And so I was like, wow, I didn't know we were going to have an accident 2 weeks later. Right. But anyway, what I'm trying to tell you tonight, do your research when you're purchasing a vehicle or thinking about purchasing a vehicle, right? Do your research. And so what I want to say again is determine if you want to, how could I say this? For example, if you purchase a Mercedes and you like all the features and about BMW, a Cadillac, that's fine, right? But you're going to pay for it, right? You're going to pay for it dearly. Trust me. If you keep it long enough, you're going to pay for it. Okay, so I want to go over this too. That's very important when purchasing a vehicle. So the best time to purchase a vehicle, right, is around the 28th to the 31st or 30th of the month. The last 3 to 4 days of the month is your best time to purchase a vehicle, right? So when I purchased my truck, about been 4 years now. So I went on the 28th of the month, right? Because I already knew the sales agent, they had a quota to meet, right? And so I knew that I could get a deal, right? So if you're thinking about purchasing a vehicle, LBDJ put just on his CT6, the front brakes was $550, just for the brakes, not including the labor. That's right, LBDJ. You're absolutely right. It costs to be the boss. Yes, it does. But anyway, what I was saying is the best time to purchase a vehicle is around the last 4 days of the month, right? Also, the best time to purchase a vehicle is during the end of the quarter. For example, when we end this new year, January, February, March, right? So March, end of March as well, around that time frame, would be the best time to buy a vehicle, right? Then you have June, the month of June is the best time to buy a vehicle, right? Then we have July, August, September, right? But October through December, because October through December, the dealerships are trying to get rid of all of the old cars on the lot, because they've ordered the new incoming vehicles for the next year. So they have markdown sales, markdown reductions that they do every year around October through December, right? And so those are the best times to buy a vehicle. But again, if you're trying to purchase a vehicle, by federal law, there's no federal law that stipulates that you have to have a down payment. Again, a lot of us, we've been hoodwinked, we've been bamboozled, we've been conned to believe that we have to have a down payment. No, that's not true. I didn't learn this until I worked at the dealership, right? And you learn a lot at the dealership. And so my antennas went up. I'm like, wow. So a lot of vehicles that I purchased in life, I put a down payment because the sales agent said, well, I need a down payment. So we trusting the dealership when we go in there, right? We're trusting them to say, hey, If they say, Tiger T, you need a down payment, I'm saying, how much? It's a $2,000. I'll say, okay. But again, before you go and purchase another vehicle, make sure you do your research, ladies and gentlemen. Do your research. And also, tell that sales agent to show you by federal law that you have to have a down payment. Actually, it is against the law for them to ask you that question. They cannot demand you to make a down payment unless you want to bring down your manufacturer suggested retail price, your MSRP, right? If that's something that you want to do, that's fine and dandy, but it's not mandatory. How do I know that? I done sold so many cars and trucks and vans and SUVs. So I know. I'm not just saying this to say it, but I'm speaking from experience. I've written many applications for young ladies, young men, old ladies, old men to get vehicles, to purchase vehicles. And I can tell you, I have worked with a lot of people, right? And Mr. Allen put, so if you refuse to put a down payment, can they refuse to sell you the car? Well, it all depends on the dealership. They can, but there's other dealerships around. One of the key things to use is, well, if you don't want to accept me without a down payment, I go down the street and get it. I know someone where someplace I can go. I don't have to have a down payment. So when you tell them that, they're gonna do all they can, right? And still they're gonna try to get a down payment out of you. Like they're gonna say, well, can you at least give $1,000? We said no. You have to stand firm on your word when you're talking about purchasing a vehicle. If that sales agent see any little slight deviation in you, they got you. You got to stand firm on what you believe from the time you enter in that door, right? And a key word of advice, never tell a sales agent, a salesperson, how much money or how much down payment you have. Never do that. That's a red flag. But again, Alan, they can refuse you, but guess what? There are more dealerships in the area, right? There are more dealerships in the area. So again, you don't have to use that particular dealership, right? But by federal law, and again, you don't have to have a down payment to purchase a vehicle. So if you're getting ready to purchase that next vehicle, all you got to do is call Tiger T. Say, hey, I'm getting ready to purchase a vehicle. Let me know. And I guarantee you 110% that the sales agent trying to get over on you, that tune will change, because they have to recite to me federal law that you're required to put a down payment, right? And also, if you have good credit, right? If you have good credit, right? They have what they call 0% finances, right? 0% down payment finance, right? Which you don't have to put anything down, right? So they have that throughout the year too. And I've seen people got financed with 0% down with a 620 credit score higher, right? You don't have to have any immaculate, excellent credit score, right? I have financed people with a 500 credit score because I had networks with the banks, with the lending institution, with the credit unions. It's all about who you know, right? So I put people in nice vehicles with a 450 credit score. Again, it's about who you know. It ain't all the time what you know. It's who you know sometimes, right? So I collaborate and network with a lot of people in the car industry. And so what I'm trying to tell you tonight is that before you purchase your next vehicle or thinking about purchasing your next vehicle, please do your research. I highly recommend that, because research is very, very, very important, right? So let me see if I have any more chats. Okay. But anyway, I just wanted to come to you tonight and let me say this before I close out. Now, if you have a vehicle that you're trying to trade in, right, as your down payment, what that sales agent is going to do, he normally takes that vehicle out of your eyesight. He'll take it like into the back of the dealership or whatever, so you can't see him doing his appraisal report on it. So the whole thing about appraising that vehicle, that sales agent, a car salesman, he's trying to find everything wrong to give you less money for your appraisal, for the trade-in. So when he's doing that appraisal, he's going to be like, there's a big dent on the left fender, right? And he's going to say, well, the thread on the tires are worn out. There are a lot of scratches on the hood of the vehicle, right? He's going to drive that vehicle down the road. I hear a thumping sound or ticking in the vehicle. So the goal of that sales agent when you're trying to trade in a vehicle and when he's doing his appraisal is to devalue your vehicle that you're trying to trade in. He's trying to devalue that so that the dealership can keep more money and they can give you less money for your trade-in, right? So remember that. Someone wrote, what about financing a car, right? So I financing the car, again, you can finance that car, but make sure you use a credit union. Make sure you use a credit union. Again, go to that dealership. If you're looking online, go to that dealership, right? And tell them, hey, you need a buyer's guide or a buyer's order, right? Take that buyer's order, what they give you, take it to your credit union, right? It save you a lot of money. Now, another key factor to remember is when you're purchasing a vehicle, make sure you tell that agent, right, or that manager, you want the out the door price. You want the out the door price, right? And what is the out the door price? That's the price with all that add-on stuff they're trying to do. You have to pay the doc fee. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay the doc fee, right? And also, I want to say this too. If you're military, right? If you're a disabled military and you're buying a vehicle, new or used, let them know that show them your ID that you're a disabled vet, because they're going to try to give you a tag and they're charging you for that license plate, right? But if you show them that you're a disabled veteran and present that to them, by law, they have to give you a disabled veterans tag. And so that'll save you money from buying a tag. They won't charge you for the tag fee. Of course, they'll charge you for the application and the doc fee. That's kind of mandatory. You can't get around that. Someone put, what is your credit score is 200? Well, there's no such thing as a credit score of 200. Credit score ranges from 300 to 850. All right. So, but anyway, that's a key thing to remember. And a down payment reduces the total value of the total loan amount, right? Someone put, like, when you get a lemon over and over again, does that ruin chances with financing? Well, when you're purchasing a vehicle, do your research, right? Do your research. And most of the time, if someone sell you a lemon vehicle, you have up to 30 days by law to return that vehicle. Actually, when you sign your form, they'll let you know most places, but by law, federal law, you have 30 days to return that vehicle, right? If something goes wrong with it, because that dealership that's selling you that vehicle, they're telling you that vehicle's, even though it doesn't have a warranty on it, they pretty much telling you it's in good standings. So you have 30 days with any new or used vehicle to return that vehicle in. If it's a lemon, if you deem this a lemon, that's why you do your homework. You do the research online, and you can go to, I believe it's True Value Cars, and they tell you like what's wrong with that vehicle. I could be saying it wrong, but it's something like that. but there's a lot of different websites that you can look at, and also look at the blue book value of that vehicle, right? So that's something that you should know as well. Say that again. The out the door price without extra features you were saying is something else. Yeah. So the out the door price is basically is everything with the sales tax, everything included, right? So, for example, if I buy a Mercedes and it's 35,000, right? And when I run my taxes, I'm depending on my financing rate, it may come up to, just say with me, 38,000, right? Because I'm not paying that much percentage on a vehicle if I purchase one, right? But all the add-ons, like sometimes they want to get you for like extra money for a paint job, like paint and coating. They want to charge you for extended warranty beyond the warranty, which is extended warranty is good. They want to charge you for like different miscellaneous stuff. You have to watch that. There's so many, I can't name them all. But you want the out the door price. A lot of times the out the door price is what they pay for it, right? In bulk, right? So another thing you can do too, right, is when you purchasing that vehicle, right? There's a way inside the dealership. If you know somebody in the dealership, they can purchase that vehicle for you with their rate or with the discount, with the company discount. And that's not talked about a lot. So like I reckon at a dealership, they give us a discount when we can purchase vehicle through the company, right? So you can actually purchase a vehicle through the company if you know somebody and get a better deal, right? So that's something to know that people don't talk about. But yeah, as far as the out the door price, what about LBDJ said, what about you can buy the vehicle with straight cash? Is that a good thing when you buy? Yeah, actually, buying cash is good. You can buy straight out. You'll save a lot on interest, right? But if you're trying to establish credit over the course of 60 months or 72 months, it pays to purchase that vehicle, so it can report to the credit bureau if you're trying to establish credit. But there's an option if you want to buy it straight out. Yeah, you can. You will save money, right? But again, if you let the dealership know you want to pay it out cash, they're going to add some frivolous charges and some miscellaneous charges on there, right? That's what they do. And I hate to say this, but 99.9% of the dealerships, they all for the money, right? And like I said, their wife may need a Louis Vuitton, a Coach bag. She might need the Louis Vuitton boots. She might need the $5,000 Louis Vuitton or Gucci jacket. And guess what? They're going to escalate that down payment because guess what? Their wife want it. I've seen it happen. They brag about it. We inside the dealership. I'm going to tell them they need $5,000 down. My wife want that Gucci purse with the boots to match. And guess what? They'll tell them you need $5,000 down. But if they don't know, if you go into the dealership blind, you don't know, right? You don't know. So again, I just want to educate you tonight on when you go into that dealership, make sure you do your research, right? Because I hate to see all people get bamboozled, get hoodwinked, get conned, right? I hate to see that. So by me being in the business, I know what goes on. I know what goes on the lot. I know what goes on inside the dealership, right? I know what goes on inside the offices of the dealership. I know what goes on in financing, right? All those different areas, I understand it very well. And so what I'm telling you tonight is that when you get ready to purchase a vehicle, if you want to contact me and have some questions on some things, this episode can go up 2 hours, but I'm trying to condense it. I don't want to talk about everything because it'll take a while. What else? Anybody got any questions? Any other questions? Yeah, anybody got any other questions? But again, this is Tiger T Podcast. I'm glad you guys tuned in tonight. And I hope I was able to elaborate on some things that will help you understand some important things on how to purchase a vehicle, right? And let me say this before I close. If you have a business and you want to purchase a vehicle, you can purchase the vehicle in your business name. And that credit is a different type of credit. That's a Dun & Bradstreet type of credit, right? So your TransUnion, your Equifax, your Experian, it doesn't exist in that purchase, right? There's a different, what they call an LLC and a corp, right? Different type of business entities. So the best thing to do if you got a business or want to start a business, put your vehicle inside your business name. And guess what? It also comes with a credit deduction. This is tax season. I'm ramping up for tax season. I am a tax preparer. So I want to take this opportunity to time out. I say, hey, if you need your tax prepared by a professional tax preparer, I am certified through the IRS and H&R Block Tax School of Theory and Law. So if you'd like to have your taxes done the right way, consider contacting me. And I'll do the best I can to represent you. All right. So again, thank you for joining in and listening to Tiger T's podcast. And as I always say, I'll see you on the other side. Have a good night.